Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. What's next for you? Visit cnext.bank for more. Happy Monday. Just after lunchtime, and the clouds still haven't moved. And the funny thing about it is that we've fought the low clouds for so many days now. I know a lot of you are probably convinced we'll never see the sun again. We are seeing some clearing in the southern parishes. We saw some clearing briefly across southern Arkansas earlier. Really, it was last Friday, so it was late last week. So we've been fighting this for a while. The good news is that last week and into the weekend, it was a matter of if the clouds would move out, and now it's truly a matter of when, especially as high pressure settles in at the surface, and the way the upper level pattern has flipped, the drier air is going to punch in along with some cooler air. So again, the clouds are on their way out. It's just a matter of how quickly they will progress out as we go through the afternoon. And again, all bets are off on really when they decide to scoot on out. Check of the radar made possible by Brown's Roofing. Of course, if the radar has been unkind to your roof, schedule your free roof inspection at brownsroofingla.com. There is an ant on my computer screen. Again, we brought some of our plants inside, some of our outdoor plants into this room. And so I think some of the critters were brought in with it. That was a couple days ago. Not like we have like a trail of ants or anything. It's just that I think they just wandered in with that plant. But anyway, radar doesn't show much. We remain clear across the area in terms of rainfall, but the clouds have been pesky, and that obviously plays fits on temperatures. Some spots are still holding in the upper 30s, while we've seen, again, some gaps in the clouds, not necessarily unabated sunshine, but some breaks in the clouds finally across the southern parishes and counties, where we're in the upper end of the 40s. But temperatures continue to kind of ebb and flow. Some spots get to 48, 49, and then they drop back down to 46, 47. It's 45 currently in Monroe, 39 in El Dorado, 47 in Natchez. Good afternoon, Louisiana Cooker on YouTube. Thanks for taking time out of the day. You're about to hear the frustration of the late week and weekend forecast. And also maybe a little bit of another, this is why you don't talk about extremes so far in advance, because everybody was talking about the big chill that's headed into the central and southern United States for the first 2 weeks of the month of December. And while a lot of areas are going to trend well below normal, and we still have the potential of trending below normal, the prospects of just this crazy cool down are looking more and more skeptical going into the weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. Dew points, again, mid to upper 30s. The low clouds are still quite pesky, but the winds have picked up. Especially along the Mississippi Valley, where they are consistently between 10 and 15 miles per hour. And as we go through the next couple of days, as high pressure moves over the top of us tonight and into tomorrow, winds should stay fairly light tonight, and that's what will allow temperatures to fall pretty quickly. Optimal radiational cooling conditions. But as those winds swing back around to the southwest tomorrow, that's what leads the warm-up. Those winds could be a little breezy at times, especially as we go into the day on Wednesday, but then we bring the first of many weak boundaries through the area. I hesitate to call them cold fronts because they won't necessarily cool us down. By definition, a lot of them are cold fronts, but we set the stage for what should be a really weird pattern late this week and into the weekend, and how much cold air we can really get transported through our area is still, again, very much a question mark. That said, again, winds will pick up, and it leads the charge to a noticeable warm-up through the middle part of this week. A lot of us will see highs return to the 60s. Futurecast made possible by Bayou Power Sports, I-20 Frontage Road in Monroe. Again, holiday season in full swing. Honda, Yamaha, Polaris, side-by-sides, ATVs, dirt bikes, you name it, they got it. Go see Mike and the gang for more information. And if you get one of those side-by-sides, as I mentioned last week, pick me up one too. I've always wanted one of those things. Again, don't really pick me up one. I did not work that into the budget. But I want one. They just look so cool. Again, showing high pressure moves back over us tonight and into tomorrow morning. High pressure means fairly light to even calm winds at the surface. but also as it moves over the top of us and the circulation moves eastward, winds will, instead of being northerly and northeasterly, become south and southwesterly. And so that's what leads the charge to the pretty sharp warm-up that we'll expect through the day on Wednesday. We expect the cold front to move through by mid to late morning, and then beyond that, northerly or northwesterly winds, but not necessarily drastically cooler air. In fact, I would expect us to be back into the 60s for highs on Thursday, and maybe even into Friday. Hello, Millie, and good afternoon to you. But there will be a series of boundaries that just kind of parades through the area. Then there's another one that moves through at some point, maybe Friday or early Saturday. That one perhaps has some cooler air associated with it, but perhaps it's another boundary even beyond that. I'll look at mid-level winds by Futurecast, and it kind of illustrates what I'm talking about, but then again, we're still talking about trends and not specifics. So this is cold front number 1. This is the boundary that I was talking about, derived from this trough of low pressure that'll move through the region on Wednesday morning. Again, not necessarily drastically cooler across the area. I'm just really drawing this boundary out to show how subtle they can be in the atmosphere. And also, to be honest with you, just to brag about my cold front drawing skills. So now we've established this northwesterly pattern, and that's not going to change much. So we continue to pull a lot of cool, dry air in, but also look at the air mass that we're pulling in. It's more of almost like a Pacific air mass. We're not pulling in this extremely cold Canadian air way up here. Our storm track really is just pulling in the same northwesterly pattern that we've been seeing. It's cooler, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing, again, earth-shattering. As we go into the weekend, though, you see the colder air start pooling up, and I think this is what a lot of folks see, and they're like, okay, now we're starting to talk about some much colder air. But notice the upper-level air track. It really takes a lot of that into the mid-Mississippi Valley. We kind of catch the tail end of it, but there's a lot of questions as to how deep and how much that cold air mass really digs into the central and southern United States. Does it stay on a track that carries it through the mid-Atlantic states, or can we really see it kind of track more northwesterly and dig into the lower Mississippi Valley, the Gulf Coast region? There's a lot of question marks regarding this air mass. It's just cold, by the way. It's going to, or cool or cold. We're not talking about a winter weather episode. We're not talking about an extreme freeze of any sort. We're talking about the difference of highs in the 50s and 60s or highs in the 40s. We're talking about the difference between lows in the 20s versus lows staying generally in the 30s and 40s. Hello, May. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your kind words. So, again, we're looking at this trend because it's really the only thing to talk about. I'm not looking at this because you're going, I don't want folks thinking, he's looking at it because this is going to be just this earth-shattering major. No, it's the only change to look at in the short term. I gotta have something to talk to you about. This is what I have chosen to talk to you about. The 6 to 10 day temperature outlook still shows confidence of us trending below average temperature-wise in the 6 to 10 day time frame. And I'm going to go back this out. And this is when we look at this at a larger scale in that December 14th to 18th time frame. Again, we heard so much about the sudden stratospheric warming event, the polar vortex, blah, 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 all this stuff. And yeah, there is some much colder air moving into the northeastern United States and the Great Lakes region. That never, ever really guarantees or promises that we will see it. It doesn't all just sweep from west to east. Some of it creeps in from northwest to southeast, and we kind of catch the tail end of it, which is looking more and more likely of what we're going to see for the middle part of the month. Hello, Trish. Good afternoon to you as well. So the 6 to 10 day precip outlook still shows that, again, under that northwesterly pattern aloft, even as we get these boundaries, none of them are specifically bringing much in the way of rainfall. The 8 to 14 day pattern starts to trend back toward kind of equal chances of being above average or below average, which usually kind of somewhat implies that you should be generally close to normal during that pattern, but that's something that you should never really assume. So I just completely contradicted myself there. 8 to 14 day precip outlook as we start looking into the days leading up to Christmas, still trending below average. That does not mean that we won't see rain. It just looks like the confidence trends that we will be below average rain-wise during that stretch. All trends, not specifics. Daytime highs today will vary wildly. I have 48, 50, 51, but there will be some 46s and 47s depending on how the cloud cover treats us. And with the late sunshine, I think there will be some areas across the southern parishes and counties, Natchez, Winfield, Gina, some of those areas that may see 53, 54 this afternoon. Winds will be out of the north generally, and we should see, again, generally decreasing clouds. May just take a little while to get there. Lows tonight, near the freezing mark. Some areas will spend more time below freezing than others, but we will at least flirt with the freezing mark in most locations. We will call it mostly clear skies. Winds should be fairly light, even becoming calm through the overnight time frame. 7-day forecast is made possible by 3B Hardware as the temperatures continue to get cooler and you need to winterize your home in any means or prepare for the winter weather season. Go see Matt Bridges and the guys at 3B and they can get you squared away. Of course, as we go through the next few days, we will see sharply warmer temperatures, mid-60s for highs Wednesday, Thursday, with a lot of sunshine. Tuesday through Thursday, mostly sunny to sunny skies. Morning lows will climb from near the freezing mark back into the 30s and 40s. Let's talk about the 7-day forecast. I had us in the 40s for highs. I've adjusted that forecast and really kind of nudged toward what we call the NBM, the National Blend of Models. But here's the problem, is we've got some computer models saying we're going to be here temperature-wise. We've got some computer models saying we're going to be here temperature-wise. And the blend's just kind of splitting the difference at this point. And so I took the coward's way out and I split the difference as well. Why? Because I can either say that it's going to be in the 60s and then eventually trend it back down to the 40s, or say that it's going to be in the 40s and have to trend it up into the 60s, or I can split the difference at this point and eventually adjust up or down accordingly. It's not necessarily the most ideal way to throw a forecast together. Hello, Susie. And I say throw it together. I spent the last hour and a half on it. But it's not the most ideal way to take a forecast, but it really just depends on storm trends, upper-level patterns as to how much of that colder air we get. I do think we're going to trend cooler going into the weekend and early next week, but whether we catch the tail end of a cold air mass and we just kind of get this shallow glancing blow, or whether we get a deeper, more prolonged colder air mass, we just don't know yet. Either way, it doesn't look to bring a lot of rainfall. I still wouldn't be surprised to have to work some rain chances in Friday, Saturday, somewhere in that time frame, but not confident enough in them to put them in there. So we'll just leave it where it is the way it is right now. Leave it where it is the way it is. That actually sounded really cool. And that's a look at the forecast midday on Monday, December 8th. In terms of additional content this week, there's not a whole lot going on, so it'll pretty much just be, live streams. We'll have the football forecast later this week, but I'll find some stuff to throw in there. Maybe we can find some weather wisdom to talk about. But aside from that, we'll just be kind of awaiting the cooler air, and that's a part of the forecast that we will refine here and there over the next several days. Forecast is always available, along with the interactive radar at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. Don't forget, Too Long Didn't Read and chunky snow hats are available for purchase on the website as well. If you need a stocking stuffer gift idea for someone in your family that is a big Digital Weather Desk fan or have just followed me for a long time, they're great gift ideas. If there's somebody in your family that absolutely hates my guts, perfect gag gift. Nothing would make them happier or make you happier, to be honest with you. But aside from that, pretty quiet start to the week. So I'll be working on some behind-the-scenes stuff. Always tinkering around, trying to make things better, make the content roll smoother so we can all enjoy this a little bit more so. But again, thanks so much for taking time out of a Monday to join in and be a part of the forecast. Again, forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the app. I'll check in with you a little bit later today. Fish and game forecast comes out tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Sunshine's going to eventually win over, folks. Just may take a couple more hours, and I'll check in with you a little bit later today.